There are some basic functions that once you get to pre-calculus or college algebra, that it's really helpful if you can remember by name or by equation. They are in the form I'm showing you here called parent functions, because this is like the most basic kind of function, and then later on you'll start adding things to it that are transformations. So that's what we're setting you up for here. But you have things like the identity function is just y equals x, which is a straight line with a slope of 1 that goes through 0, 0. And then what we want to basically get to is the point where we can think about, well, what happens whenever I add 2 to this equation? How does that change this graph? Okay, things like that. But for now, just the identity function is y equals x. The squaring function is y equals x squared, which is a parabola. And so our most basic kind of squaring function is the one that we have a parabola that's opening up. And then, we can do all kinds of things to that. We can reflect it, we can stretch it and shrink it, things like that. We have the square root function, the cubing function, where we have our biggest power is cubed, the cube root function, which is kind of like the opposite of the cubing function. We have the reciprocal function, which is where we put an x on the bottom and it gives us this kind of crazy looking graph. That the reason the graph looks like that is because 0 is an issue for x and it's also an issue for y. And then the absolute value function, which is, remember, absolute value is where you take negative values and you change them to positive. So instead of that line we originally had for x, this part down here is flipped up and is made positive. So these are some basic functions that are helpful for you to know and kind of be able to graph, maybe without the help of your calculator, so that then whenever you start doing transformations by moving and shifting and all that stuff, then it'll make that a lot easier.